Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Just Saying Football with Jack and Sean. I'm your host, Sean Gannon, alongside my partner, Jack McNicholas. We're here to bring you news, notes, weekly updates, and game analysis of your favorite teams from around the league. Now, to have the chance, go check out our website at justsayingfootball.com and follow us on Instagram at JustSayingNoGWJS for article and video updates. Week 14 continues, my friend, at 4 o'clock. Let's kick it off with your New York Giants making their way to Los Angeles to take on the Chargers. Now, some news here with the injuries, a little bit of things going on with the Giants quarterback situation. Daniel Jones is going to be out again with the neck strain, like we've talked about before. Neck injuries are always a little bit tricky to deal with, and you usually opt for player safety more than anything. Mike Glennon suffered a concussion in the Miami game that we were at. We didn't really see any ailments. This kind of came out after the game on Monday, and later on that Sunday. Looks like he is fine. He is going to be starting against the Chargers in this one, but you guys also did promote Jake Fromm, former University of Georgia quarterback, to your active roster, and he will be the backup. Wouldn't surprise me if Mike Glennon has a poor first half, that they opt to go for the younger guy just to try something else new out. But what are your thoughts on this one with your Giants taking on the Chargers?
Yeah, definitely. The biggest question of the week is just how the Giants quarterbacks are going to play. That's going to affect the rest of the game. With the way we saw last week in Miami when we were at the game, as Sean mentioned, the huge thing was we really didn't see enough from Mike Glennon to look at him and say, wow, he's a very viable backup. And, we talked about how Miami is very disruptive, but the Chargers, they have their own type of disruption as well. This is a really solid defense, along with, an offense that just, covers almost everything. They're the top 10 scoring offense right now. But their defense does get a lot of pressure. They have been able to get a lot of wins, these one possession games. And I think that, against the Giants this week, it's a favorable matchup for the Chargers. I mean, Justin Herbert, has been absolutely excellent this year. He's got 27 touchdowns already to match, what he, last year he broke the record for that. That was the rookie record, 27, and he was able to get over 30. And now you're looking at him on this pace with 5 weeks left. He's been on an absolute tear. So it's hard to pick the Giants in this one, especially with them going all the way to the West Coast.
Yeah, big time change for the Giants. They get 3 hours back when you get to go from East Coast to West Coast, but still that time change is always difficult on players, difficult on anyone who's traveling most of the time, things like that. I think you got to go with the Chargers on this one. The way that they're playing offense, the way they're playing defense, huge statement win over the Bengals last week. And I had picked the Bengals, like I had mentioned. Mike Glennon, obviously, he's a step down from Daniel Jones. He doesn't have that running ability that Jones has. He's not able to take off for these big chunk first downs, these random 50-yard runs that Jones has from time to time and things like that. And it kind of limits the playbook again. You can do a little bit more rolling out with Daniel Jones. You can do a little bit more read option with Daniel Jones. With Mike Glennon, it's kind of straight pocket pass or dropping back. You're hoping for a little bit more from Barkley against this one. The Chargers are a very runnable team up against. They are not very good when it comes to stopping the run. So you're hoping for more than Barkley, who's only averaging 39 rushing yards a game this season. Not what you wanted with him coming back from injury. Of course, it was a brutal injury that he suffered last year, and then he got the ankle injury this year on the same leg. So you're hoping in this game, run the ball a lot with him. Let's utilize him a lot. But I think you got to go with the Chargers on this one. Austin Eckler having himself a great season, 149 attempts, 663 yards, 8 touchdowns on the ground to go along with 56 receptions, 518 yards, and 7 touchdowns through the air. I expect a lot of Austin Eckler with no Keenan Allen in this one, who is placed on the COVID reserve list as well. So looking to you, Mike Glennon, looking to you, Jared Cook, and I'm looking to you, Austin Eckler, to really kind of be the three main guys of this one with no Keenan Allen. And I think this is a tough one for the Giants. I'm sorry, bud.
Yeah, and I think that the Giants secondary has been great this year. Their defense has really stepped up in a lot of matchups they need to, but it really is their offense for me. Even though the Chargers do allow a good amount of yards on the ground, they they are a stout defense at times. And we're looking at this offense. No Daniel Jones, probably no Kadarius Toney again, probably no Sterling Shepard. Kenny Golladay didn't practice this week. This is a team that has just consistently not been healthy this year, and it hasn't boded well for them at all. It's been a huge reason why they haven't been able to score a touchdown the last couple of games. And, with that, the Chargers right now, they're in win now mode. It's a tight AFC West race, and I'm going with them this week.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I think you got to go with them. Moving on, we have the Detroit Lions heading to Denver, taking on the Broncos. A lot of familiarity, actually, with these two teams. Vic Fangio, the defensive coordinator for the for the Chicago Bears just a few years ago, had to see a lot of the Lions. Granted, it's a new head coach and things like that. Slightly familiar with the team overall. Some injury news for them. DeAndre Swift still out with a shoulder injury that he suffered on Thanksgiving Day. Jamal Williams not injured. COVID-related news, was just placed on the COVID reserve list this morning. He will not be active for this game, or yesterday morning, I should say. So we're looking at George Igwebuike, who's going to be seeing a lot of the starts in this one, a lot of the carries in this one. No TJ Hawkinson as well. So I'm on Aquinas St. Brown, I think, is going to be the main guy in this one. So yeah, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, and as you mentioned, he got a big touchdown last week at the end of the game. Definitely time for Detroit to get a win. Unfortunately,
don't hurt me
for
like
you
that.
guys. But without I still feel like, especially without TJ Hawkinson, without DeAndre Swift, it really is like, what is this Detroit Lions offense? And this Denver defense is legitimately no joke. They allow less than 20 points a game. They only allow 18.2. That's the third best in the NFL right now. They're number 10 in both defensive passing yards, defensive rushing yards. That's a very solid and balanced team to me. I mean, I think that what they were able to do last week, with Javonte Williams, 23 on the ground for 102, and then he got 6 catches for 76 yards and a score through the air. You're looking at this Denver team that's actually way better than we expect them to play in week in and week out.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you got to go with the Broncos on this one. The Lions, they got their first win of the season last week against my Vikings, which was tough to see. But I think that the Broncos are in a position with this such a depleted offense now that Jared Goff is going to need to run. They really utilize the backfield, and Williams and Swift are a great 1-2 punch. They kind of they play really similar. They can run through the tackles, they can run through the guards, they can also receive out of the backfield. Losing those two guys are huge. They really rely on them as the season's gone on. I like what we've seen from the Broncos this season. Their defense has been good. Their offense, Teddy Bridgewater has been hit and miss at times. Only has a 95 QBR this season, which is passable. That's good. That's what you want to see. Some games he's excellent. Some games he's a little bit down. This is a very beatable Lions team. This is a team that you have to beat. We went over this to the Vikings last week. You got to beat the winnable. Like, you got to beat the beatable teams, the teams that are not expected to go out there. You take them. You don't necessarily assume they're going to roll over and show you their belly and it's going to be an easy game, but you can't lose in this moment. I think that if you're the Broncos, you're Vic Fangio, you kind of know what's on the line. Feels like Vic Fangio's seat was beginning to boil up at the beginning of the season. Is he going to be on the way out? Is he not? Is now an opportunity at 6-6 and in a tough AFC West division to win a few games. And in this one, beat up on the easy team, get the win. I'm going to go with the Broncos on this one. I don't think that the Lions can slow down Jerry Jeudy, Tim Patrick, Cortland Sutton, or Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon. And Melvin Gordon's coming off a hip injury. He is questionable. They're expecting him to play, but I bet you it's going to be more of the Javonte Williams show than anything, because he's going to be the fully healthy back.
Definitely agree. I think this is kind of the week where we start to see him grow into, instead of being a 50-50 backfield, more of like a 70-30 backfield. Melvin Gordon is a great bet, but they definitely want to develop this guy. They drafted him in the second round this year. This is a very easy, beatable Lions team that hasn't won an away game all year. So you gotta give it to Denver in this one.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Moving on, we have the Buffalo Bills making their way to Tampa Bay to take on the Buccaneers. Last year, these two teams are looking like it could have been a potential Super Bowl matchup. Still could be a Super Bowl matchup this year if everything goes right for both teams. What are your thoughts going into this one? Again, no Tre'Davious White for the Bills. He's out for the remainder of the season with the torn ACL that he suffered on Thanksgiving Day. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, man. I mean, the way that these two teams have been playing, the last couple of weeks, it's been a big ride for them. Last week we saw Tampa Bay. They, got to go to Atlanta, play in the Dome, absolutely dominated them. And then you look over at Buffalo, who's coming off of that crazy Monday night game against the Patriots, where, they only had to face 3 different pass attempts the whole game. But, we're looking at Buffalo right now. They're the second best team when it comes to scoring and shutting down offenses. Tampa Bay, top offense right now, and to go along with that, the Bills are also a top 5 team in scoring. So I can't really debate whether this is going to be a huge shootout with high scoring, both these quarterbacks go off, or is it going to really be the defense that kind of shuts them down?
Yeah, I mean, I think the defenses are what you need to be paying attention to in this one. Like we said, the Buffalo Bills right now have the number 1 ranked passing defense. They're giving up the least amount of yards. They're locking down everyone. Yeah. And that really came because they had Tre'Davious White. That is their main cover guy. That is a huge component of their team. We saw in their first week pretty much without him, only 3 passes. This is not going to be the same game. They're not in Buffalo. It's not 30, it's not 20 degrees and rainy and super windy. They're in sunny Florida with Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. Leonard Fournette saw 58 receptions, he's second right now in the league, right behind Najee Harris. Could pass him today because Harris played on Thursday Night Football. And everyone was saying Lenny is not a receiving back, and here he is proving everyone wrong. Then they have Chris Godwin and Mike Evans and Rob Gronkowski. They're going to pass the ball. This is what they do. They will have a balanced attack going into this game.
Yeah.
They're going to put a lot of pressure on the secondary of the Bills with no Tre'Davious White. And then on the flip, Buccaneers secondary has been awful. It's been one of the worst in the league, and they're getting Richard Sherman back for this one, and that will be positive. He's a little bit old. He's not the same Richard Sherman of the Legion of Boom. He's not the same Sherman that was in the Super Bowl for the 49ers, and they haven't really played very well. So it's really, for me, going to come down to these two defenses. It's going to be who makes the most crucial play. Is that front seven of the Buccaneers going to make Josh Allen really, really uncomfortable?
Yeah.
And is that secondary of the Bills going to be able to stop this just the pure weapons that they have consistently across the Buccaneers team? So for me, I'll go with the Buccaneers just because I've liked what they've been able to do week in and week out. I trust this offense. I trust Tom Brady. He's 35-2 against the Bills in his career. All right. He has dominated the Bills. He's won 2 full seasons, essentially, against the Bills alone. So for me, I'll stick with Tom Brady. I'll stick with the Buccaneers. But I don't think you can just count the Bills out in this one. I'm just trusting what Brady can do, given that he's played this team so much, given that he's the most seasoned veteran in the NFL, and he's seen every single defense and every single team and every single possible moment. So I'll lean towards the GOAT.
Yeah, I mean, I'll oppose you here. I'm actually going to go with Buffalo. I think that it's been kind of a crazy week for them. Definitely, they have something to prove this week. And I think that Tom Brady, after this big Patriots loss on Monday, is definitely like a metaphor for them and what they want to do this week. This whole franchise, as you mentioned, is definitely, just sick of Tom Brady at this point, honestly, and just glad he's not playing him twice a year. And Josh Allen, honestly, has had a great season so far. 26 touchdowns, only 10 picks. He's been very, very clean. He also has 3 on the ground helping out there. But they're really trying, the Buffalo Bills, to get their backfield to be an okay backfield. They have Zach Moss and Singletary and Breida, and somehow, despite none of them getting any carries or any yards or any impact to the game, they are still getting touchdowns. And for me, it's like they're finding these crazy ways to win. We saw them get their butt kicked by the Colts a couple of weeks ago in person, and that's the issue for Buffalo. They can't stop franchise running backs. And I think Leonard Fournette, he's going to have to prove that he's a franchise running back. But I think Buffalo definitely steps up in this one in the nice weather. I think they got a little thrown. They played great last week despite the terrible weather. But I'm going with them. I think it's like a big Cinderella story for them to beat Tom Brady.
I like it. I think also if they beat the Buccaneers, you have to really, they get right back in the conversation of more likely than not to be the top team in the AFC. You know what I mean? Definitely. I think the NFC is a little bit more clear with who the top teams are. Like I mentioned, you got the Rams, you got the Cardinals, you got the Packers, you got the Buccaneers. AFC is just sort of like a hodgepodge of anyone can really be number one in any given week. One week it looks like the Kansas City is the best team, then another week it looks like Buffalo's the best team, then one week it looks like Ravens. It's so hit and miss, but a win against Tampa Bay, I think, really does kind of put them on the upper echelon of the AFC teams for sure. But moving on to our Sunday night football matchup and NFC North battle, we have the Chicago Bears heading to Green Bay to take on the Packers. Justin Fields is back. He's going to be starting in this one. But the last time these two teams played each other was back in October, and the Packers won 24-14. So what are your thoughts going into this one?
Yeah, definitely. Just looking for something more out of this Bears team. It's David Montgomery and Allen Robinson, both not injury designated this week for the first time in a while. But, when we're looking at this Aaron Rodgers team coming in to see, what they're going to do here, at home in prime time, I feel like we see this every year where the Bears come into Lambeau and it's just Aaron Rodgers, man. You've seen it. You've seen it a couple of times.
I have seen it. He does some magic. There was a game just a few years ago against the Bears in Green Bay where the Bears are up. I think it was 20-7, pretty much going into midway through the third quarter. And Aaron Rodgers starts doing a little bit of magic. One to Randall Cobb, one to Devontae Adams, another one to Cobb, and this is what he does. This is what Aaron Rodgers does. He came out early this year after he beat the Bears in Chicago and screamed at the fans saying, I own you. I own you. And he has his entire career. He's owned the NFC North, sadly. It's not his ownership does not just extend to the Bears. It sadly extends to my Vikings and obviously the Lions, of course. He just seems to beat us in the moments that count. Even when he's injured, he somehow like they find ways to win, and it bothers me.
Yeah, I mean, he's played the Bears 26 times in his career. He's 21-5. I mean, when you're looking at that, you're like, that's
good.
Yeah, it's good, pretty solid.
Not bad. So like, Tom.
No Tom, just Aaron. But I mean, when we're looking at this Packers team where they are right now, what AJ Dillon and Aaron Jones are doing, at the beginning of the season, we were like, why is AJ Dillon not more involved? Now AJ Dillon is incredibly involved, and Aaron Jones is still doing his thing. He's still a touchdown machine. He's still a yardage machine. I think the Bears are in a position now to actually put up a little bit more of a fight in this game, even though the Packers are favored by 12.5. It's it just looks good. I think Allen Robinson coming back. I think the way Darnell Mooney has played, the Bears can put up a fight. But at the end of the day, the Packers, as you mentioned just in the last game, they're one of those teams trying to establish the NFC dominance right now. Devontae Adams has looked absolutely in his shape, in form this year, as so to say, just how he's been able to play. I'm excited for this one, but it's so hard to pick against Aaron Rodgers the way that he's just been playing in general, how the fact this team has been playing, and the Bears, how they haven't been playing.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with the Packers. The Bears team are lost, I think, right now, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. By loss, I kind of just more mean like it's very evident that Nagy is not going to be the head coach going forward. I feel like, he got a big win on Thanksgiving Day, but this team has just not looked great under him. And I think it's definitely time to move on from Nagy. I think there's a way to still keep pace. One can make the argument that it was his decision to go get Justin Fields as the GM more than anything, which I think still is a good trade for them. They very evidently needed a franchise quarterback going forward. And I think Justin Fields can still be that guy. But I think with Nagy on his way out, it's looking like I just go with the Packers on this one. This is just where Aaron Rodgers plays his best football late in December as we're getting into the playoffs and things like that. He does have a toe injury that he suffered, I think during the Vikings game just a few weeks ago. And didn't look like it was really hindering him all that much when he lit us up for 4 touchdowns. So despite this toe injury that, everyone should monitor because you never know what could happen. Turf toe is a weird thing. It could affect him and stuff like that. But despite the injury, he's still going to be Aaron Rodgers. He'll still put up 3 touchdowns against them. Devontae Adams will go off, and they're getting Jair Alexander back from the IR, which is huge for their defense, who's, one of the best, if not the best cover corner in the NFL when he's fully healthy. I think you just got to go with the team that's done it year in and year out and has just kind of proven themselves in the NFC North. And that's Green Bay, sadly.
Yeah, I think that totally wrap for me. They're top 5 scoring defense right now, the 9th best passing D, 8th best rushing D. There's really not a weak point in this Packers team right now. Aaron Rodgers is playing so great. It's so hard to just debate for the Bears at this point. They're 4-8. They don't have too much to play for. The Packers are playing for playoff spots right now, so got to go with them.
Yeah, I agree. I would love to see the Bears win, though, just to big FU to the Packers. Like you just mentioned, the Bears don't have anything to play for. You play for ruining someone's season then. Yeah. It's not going to ruin their playoff chances at 9-3 currently or 10-3 right now. But, you can always just spoil someone's entrance into the playoffs, rattle their brain a little bit. You got to win against the Packers. They're like, crap. Then they got to play the Vikings. Maybe the Vikings get another win against them. I don't know. Yeah. Sean can only hope. But that is all the time that we have. Thank you everyone for listening, and thank you everyone for tuning in.
Yeah, thank you all. Enjoy the Sunday. Enjoy the Sunday night game. Just check us out, justsayingfootball.com, Just Saying Football on YouTube, and Just Saying No GWJS on Instagram for all your article and video updates. Thank you guys for checking us out.
Enjoy.